Hi, Kevin. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Modern Homesteading with Tessa. I'm Tessa, and this is the channel where I show you how to feed yourself, which is kind of important these days. So, in today's episode, I am going to be organizing my deep freezers, as well as giving you guys a full freezer tour and some tips and tricks when freezing your food. So we raise, hunt, or fish for all of our meat, all of it. The only exception is we do buy an animal from a 4-H or FFA kid at our local county fair at the junior livestock auction every year. As such, our freezers are very, very important to us. They contain all of the protein that we grow and raise throughout the year, so it's important to keep it organized, and I'm going to talk about some tips for making sure you don't lose anything in your freezers due to power outages and things like that. So we have a steer that we are getting ready to process and send to freezer camp, so we need to make some room for him in here. So a word about freezers and why. So we like chest freezers for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you open up a stand-up freezer, all of that cold just pours out of your freezer, and it takes a lot more energy to get that freezer back down to temperature. Whereas a chest freezer, when you open it, the cold stays in there, and so it's not taking up as much energy to stay cold after you've opened it. The next reason is I can't really accidentally leave a chest freezer open, whereas a stand-up freezer, inevitably someone's gonna leave it cracked open and your contents are going to thaw. I also prefer having multiple small freezers as opposed to just one giant freezer. So it kind of helps with organization. I can keep different proteins in different freezers. I can also, when inventory is lower, I can consolidate everything from 2 freezers into one and then unplug the empty freezer. Ideally, you want to keep your freezers full because then they will stay cold better. Then a quick word about frost-free freezers. So frost-free freezers will go through a cycle of warming up to 32 degrees and then using fans to eliminate moisture in your freezer, which sounds great, but it's not ideal for long-term storage of frozen food. Ideally, your freezer will stay under 0 degrees for the best quality for storing food long-term in the freezer. So frost-free freezers are not ideal for long-term storage. So the next thing we need to talk about is freezer security and protecting your food from potential freezer fails or power outages. So sad story, we had a freezer go bad once, and almost all of an entire elk was in that freezer, and it had been out for like 2 weeks, we think, and everything in the freezer was bad, and it was heartbreaking to lose an entire elk. So we invested in these freezer alarms. So these are awesome. They run on an app. You can see the temperature of your freezer on your phone. You can set alarm parameters. So if the temperature rises above a certain temperature, it will send an alert to your phone so you can go do something about it before you lose any meat. So you put this hub, there's a hub that needs to be connected to Wi-Fi, so that goes in the house or wherever you have Wi-Fi, and then the individual sensors go in each of your freezers, and you can name them and label them whatever you want. So with these, the hub can reach sensors that are up to 1/4 mile away, and that's part of why we chose these particular this particular brand, because it was the furthest reaching, and our freezers are all the way out in the barn, and our Wi-Fi is all the way in the house, and it's a little bit of a jog, and so that's why we ended up going with these. Part of the reason anyway. So we have these in all of our freezers now, and they give us a lot of peace of mind knowing that an alarm that an alarm will go off. I've had this out of the freezer for maybe 60 seconds. I just got an alarm on my phone that says alert, small barn freezer detects high temperature. So that is really, really handy to have. Very cool. So my boyfriend is now going to get an alert on his phone, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a text from him asking me to check on the freezer. That's him. Hi.
Hi, how are you now?
Good, and you?
Oh, I just got an alert on the freezer, so I'm hoping you're.
Yes, I am. That was me. I actually had them out filming a video for the freezers, and got an alert, and so I was like, oh, he's gonna be calling in a minute.
The small barn freezer detects high temperature, so I was worried.
Yes, no, so that was me. Thanks for checking.
I'll let you get back to it then. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, thanks. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye. So anyway, I will put my Amazon affiliate link in the description below if you decide to get those. If you order them through my link, then I end up making a little bit of money. So if you're gonna get them anyway, it would be super awesome if you got them through my link. So the next thing that you need to be prepared for with your freezers, especially if you're relying, like we do, we rely completely on our freezers for most of our protein. So you wanna have backup plans and contingency plans in case the power goes out, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we have a couple of generators that we can use for powering the freezers if the power goes off. We actually just invested in one that can run off either gas or propane, so that's kind of nice to have that flexibility. But if your freezer is full, it will stay frozen for 48 hours or more. If it's only half full, you're only looking at 24 hours on average, depending on the ambient temperature around your freezers. So if you know that a power outage is coming and it's a planned power outage or whatever, for whatever reason, you know the power is going to be out, then you can freeze gallon jugs of water and put them in your freezer to fill up any empty space and make sure it's all the way full, and then it'll stay frozen for much longer. All right, so let's dig into organizing. So I highly recommend wearing gloves so your hands don't freeze. So you can see that our freezers already come with, some of them come with these bins. So we definitely utilize those. This is all frozen ground elk. That was the one thing we didn't lose in the freezer failure, was the ground elk. So we're thankful for at least that being saved. And these alarms, so I don't know if you can see, we're at -16 in there right now, so that's awesome. Sometimes they'll get lost in the freezer, so I think I'm actually going to mount them up with like Velcro tape or a magnet or something so that they don't get lost. I'm gonna be counting stuff as I pull it out and taking inventory as I go. So about 25 pounds of ground elk. So then this is mostly pork from our pigs that we raised last year. $17 on the pork chops. So then down here I have my corn on the cob, and this is by far the best way I have ever seen to freeze corn on the cob. So I just take off some of the outer layers of husk and then throw the whole thing in the freezer. So I did an experiment on freezing corn a few years ago, and I did some where I did what you're told to do. I blanched it, I husked it and I blanched it, and I vacuum sealed it in vacuum seal bags and froze them. Then I also did a few where I didn't blanch them and vacuum sealed them. Then I froze some just straight in the husk, and I found that freezing it in the husk was by far the best tasting corn. Much better than the blanched and vacuum sealed. The unblanched and vacuum sealed stuff was not good. So vegetables, you need to blanch them before freezing because you want to kill the enzymes that are on them so that they don't deteriorate in storage. So I was really surprised with how well these came out. And I also really love that there's no plastic involved. Isn't that cool? It's already in its own wrapper. So I will just pull these out, and this time of year in the winter, I'll just sit them on top of the wood stove and warm them up before dinner, or you can run them under warm water and then boil them like normal. Or in the summer, I pull them straight out of the freezer and put them on the barbecue, and they're really good that way too. So great way to freeze corn. That's one of the only vegetables I freeze. I don't freeze a lot of vegetables. I usually prefer to can them. All right, what's next? Chicken backs. All right, so I have a bunch of chicken backs. When I raise chickens, I will part some of them out and freeze the, breast and leg quarters and wings separately, but I save the carcasses so that I can make bone broth. So I think I'm gonna pull these out and then I'll make chicken stock tomorrow. Brr, I need my gloves back on. It's cold. All right, what's next? We have a bunny. I actually don't raise rabbits anymore, but rabbits are a fantastic, if you're wanting to have a self-sustained protein source, rabbits are one of the best to start with. Oh, look at that, I found some tomatillos. So I'll make a note of that so that I can make some salsa or maybe some enchilada sauce out of those. Ooh. Blackberries. Yum, so maybe I should make some jam. These are also really good to just eat straight. I actually roll these in a little bit of sugar and then I lay them out on a tray to freeze them individually. So then you can see it's not just one giant blob of blackberries. They're individual blackberries that you can scoop out and use in a cobbler or a pie or eat them straight. I kind of want some. Tastes like summer. I might have to take those in the house. One little bag of blueberries and a little bag of cherries. Oh my handle broke. That's no good. Okay, chicken feet for dog treats. So let's count the linguiça, see how much we have of that. 119. Oh my gosh! I found more tomatillos. I guess I will be doing some salsa or something soon. So that's our ground elk and linguiça. Here's some more lamb. And this was lamb. This is a Katahdin lamb, and I traded for this lamb, and I got the lamb live and then brought it here and we processed it here ourselves. Time for bacon. And garlic. All right. So we have hams and ham hocks, and then corn, all of our ground pork, all of our bacon. Down here is pork chops and shoulder roasts. So that's all of our pork. Then we have linguiça and ground elk, and then tomatillos and blackberries. Yeah, nice, I like that. All right, let's see what's going on in this freezer. So we have, so this is all crab traps. So we just leave our bait in there and then throw it in the freezer. So then when we're gonna go crabbing again, we can just pull this whole bag out and our bait bags are already ready to go. And then when crab season is over, we'll just give all this to the chickens. So what is in here is mostly chicken liver, chicken hearts, chicken necks, stuff like that. This is an oryx roast. So one of our friends gave us this from an oryx that he got in Texas. This stuff is delicious. If you ever get the opportunity to get an oryx, they're delicious. Some of the best wild game I've ever had. That's a venison shank. Those are great for making ossobuco. Chicken wings. Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni. Turkey, more turkey. We are all emptied out, so now I'm gonna vacuum it out. Chicken, hot dog and bologna. All right, so I think I'm gonna make this one the red meat freezer. So this is where the steer will go, and this will also be for lamb, venison, elk, oryx, other wild red meat game. I mentioned earlier that we buy a fair animal every year, and so last year it was a goat. Don't tell Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Okay, so this is what I have this freezer down to. So it's pretty much just venison, lamb, and goat in that one, but that leaves space for the steer when he is processed. Next, this is the poultry freezer, and it's actually not terribly unorganized. So up top I have like leg quarters, and then underneath I have whole chickens. So let's get inventory on that. I also have some breasts and things like that too. Wings. So turkey, we have both domestic turkey and wild turkey. So that's domestic. That is a wild turkey. Look how much darker that meat is. It is absolutely beautiful and delicious. You just have to know how to cook it. If you want some tips on cooking wild turkey, go watch my turkey catch and cook video. And this particular turkey was actually from a friend of mine who had raised them. She didn't have time to process them, so I picked them up and then I processed 4 of them. And then I brought her back a whole turkey as like a thank you. So there's ways to get home-raised meat without raising it yourself. So even if you live somewhere where you can't raise stuff, you can usually find ways to, Kevin, quit headbutting the wall. You can usually find ways to find meat that you can process yourself and trade with people. That should get used soon because it's kind of coming undone. That's some smoked turkey breast. So I'm gonna set this aside to get used soon because the packaging is coming undone. So that's all the turkey. So then this is the poultry freezer. All right, so I have all of my notes. So now I'm gonna go in the house and I'm going to type up inventory lists that I can then laminate and then put out here at the freezers so that when we pull something out, we can see what we have in there, so then that helps for meal planning. And then B, we can mark that off as we go so we have a running current inventory of what's in the freezers. All right, so I am back with my freezer inventory sheets. So I've got for this first big freezer is pork sausage and veggies. The second freezer is red meat, and the third freezer is poultry. So now I am just going to redneck laminate them right onto the top of the freezers. Then I can take my dry erase I am also going to secure this pen here so it doesn't disappear and walk off and get lost. So I'm going to tape some baling twine to the lid. Then I'm going to tie it somewhere. Okay, that'll do. Then when I need my pen, and then the cap is there, so it always goes back there. So in my poultry freezer, I know that I have my whole chickens, my chicken breast, my leg quarters, and then this is all of my turkey. In my red meat freezer, it's pretty empty for now, but that leaves us plenty of room for the steer. So this is all venison plus the oryx. This is all goat, and that's all lamb. Then in my biggest freezer, I have all of my pork, so my pork chops, my ham hocks and ham, and my roasts and ribs, all of my lovely bacon. I also have all of my fruit and veggies in here, so all of my corn on the cob, my tomatillos, and my blackberries, as well as all of my linguiça and the ground elk. Okay, my freezers are all organized and inventory has been taken. I know exactly how much of what I have in each freezer, and I have room for when T-Bone heads to freezer camp. Like this video if you like this video, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. If you have any questions, comments, or bonus tips, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.